Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom wasn't just another adventure. It was the darkest, wildest detour in the series. A prequel by design, it traded desert sands for rope bridges, jungles, and an underground temple where the stakes were literal life and death. But behind the mine carts and the ripped-out hearts, it was danger before the cameras rolled. The original writer walked away before filming even began. Harrison Ford filmed through a hernia that would have dropped most actors in their tracks. And a ratings war over its violence didn't just rattle audiences. It rewrote Hollywood's rulebook. These are 20 weird facts about Temple of Doom. And buried in all the danger and controversy, it started with a title that sounded like a straight-up horror movie. This wasn't just pulp adventure. It was darkness on a collision course. Number 1. Before audiences knew it as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, the movie carried a much more ominous name, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Death. It fit the early vision George Lucas and Steven Spielberg had for their follow-up to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Darker, more dangerous, and with higher personal stakes for Indy. The story they were building featured human sacrifice, child slavery, and heart-ripping rituals, themes far heavier than anything in the first film. But as production moved forward, they realized the word death pushed the tone too far into horror territory. It risked alienating the family audiences who had made Raiders a global hit. Spielberg wanted something that still carried menace but evoked the pulpy, high-adventure serials that had inspired the franchise from the start. Changing it to Temple of Doom struck the balance. It kept the danger, but softened the edge, promising a thrilling journey without spoiling just how dark and controversial the adventure would become. Number 2. Instead of picking up where Raiders of the Lost Ark left off, George Lucas and Steven Spielberg made the unusual choice to set Temple of Doom a year earlier. The film takes place in 1935, before Indy ever chases the Ark of the Covenant. This wasn't a random decision. It solved a specific problem. In Raiders, the Nazis were already established as the perfect villains. For the next film, Lucas wanted something entirely different without reusing the same enemy. Setting the story earlier freed them from the constraints of World War II and opened the door to a fresh threat, the Thuggee cult in India. The prequel structure also gave Indy a slightly different edge, a version of the character who hadn't yet faced his greatest trials, making his moral choices in Temple of Doom feel more unpredictable and dangerous.
You're not eating?
I had bugs for lunch. Give me your hat. Why? Because I'm going to puke in it.
Number 3. After the success of Raiders of the Lost Ark, it seemed natural to bring back its screenwriter, Lawrence Kasdan, to pen the sequel. But when George Lucas and Steven Spielberg shared their ideas for Temple of Doom, Kasdan's reaction was immediate. He didn't want to do it. The new story was darker, stranger, and far more intense than Raiders. It swapped desert heroics for a nightmare of underground cults, child slavery, and graphic human sacrifice. Kasdan later called it mean-spirited, saying the grim tone didn't appeal to him. Rather than try to reshape the vision, he walked away, leaving Lucas and Spielberg to find new writers. They turned to Willard Hook and Gloria Katz, a husband and wife team with a taste for pulp adventure. Hook and Katz leaned into the extremes, keeping the danger high and the moral stakes heavy. The result was a script that pushed Indiana Jones into his most brutal, morally compromised adventure, one that still divides fans to this day.
As a scientist, I don't want to prejudice my experiment. I'll let you know in the morning.
Why, you conceited ape. I'm not that easy.
I'm not that easy either.
Number 4. When Temple of Doom took shape, it wasn't just the story that was darker. The filmmakers themselves were going through some of the most difficult years of their lives. George Lucas was in the middle of a divorce, a personal upheaval that left him in a grim, restless state. Steven Spielberg, still reeling from his own breakup, admitted he wasn't in the mood for another lighthearted romp like Raiders. That emotional turbulence bled into the film's tone. Instead of desert treasure hunts and romantic banter, Temple of Doom dove headfirst into shadowy temples, enslaved children, and ritual sacrifice. Even Indiana Jones himself was written as colder, more cynical, a man motivated by fortune and glory rather than pure heroism. Spielberg would later call it the black sheep of the franchise, a product of where he and Lucas were in life. But that raw, unsettled energy also gave the movie its intensity, a sense that the danger wasn't just on screen, it was in the air behind the camera.
Now let's get out of here.
Right. all of us.
Number 5. Ke Huy Quan wasn't even supposed to audition for Temple of Doom. He was 12 years old, tagging along with his older brother, who was trying out for a role in the film. While they waited, casting directors noticed Ke coaching his brother, giving him line readings, blocking his moves, and unintentionally outshining him. Intrigued, they asked Ke to read for the part of Indy's quick-witted sidekick, Short Round. He had no acting experience, but his natural charm, sharp timing, and fearless delivery won everyone over. Steven Spielberg was especially taken with how Ke could stand toe-to-toe with Harrison Ford, holding his own in banter and emotional beats alike. In a single afternoon, he went from a kid waiting in the wings to a key player in one of the biggest adventure films of the decade. And just like that, Short Round was born, a scene stealer discovered by literally stealing the scene.
Oh my God, is he nuts?
You know nuts. He's crazy.
Number 6. Originally, Temple of Doom was set to shoot many of its key scenes in India, with the government offering access to breathtaking locations and authentic cultural backdrops. But when officials read the script, they balked. The portrayal of Indian culture, from ritual sacrifice to depictions of poverty and servitude, was seen as offensive and politically risky. The Ministry of Information and Broadcasting refused permission to film unless major script changes were made. Spielberg and Lucas, unwilling to alter their story, pulled the plug on the India shoot entirely. Instead, production moved to Sri Lanka for the village and jungle scenes, while interior sequences, including the temple itself, were built on massive sound stages at Elstree Studios in England. It was a costly pivot, but it also gave the filmmakers more control over their sets and stunts. Still, the ban left a mark. The movie's India setting was brought to life without ever setting foot in the country it portrayed.
The trouble with her is the noise.
Hey, you cheat, Dr. Jones. You cheat. You default card. You pay now. I'm very little. You cheat very big. Dr. Jones, you cheat.
Number 7. Midway through filming Temple of Doom, Harrison Ford felt a sharp pain in his back. Doctors diagnosed it as a herniated disc, the kind of injury that can sideline an actor for months, especially in a stunt-heavy action film. But Ford wasn't about to quit. For several weeks, he powered through the pain, shooting as much as he could without worsening the injury. Fight scenes were scaled back, and his stunt double, Vic Armstrong, took on a heavier load than planned. Eventually, the pain became unbearable, and Ford flew to Los Angeles for emergency surgery. Amazingly, just weeks later, he was back on set in Sri Lanka, picking up right where he left off, even performing physically demanding scenes like the rope bridge climax. Spielberg later praised Ford's grit, saying most actors would have shut down the entire production. Ford's determination kept Temple of Doom on schedule, and proved Indy's toughness wasn't just a character trait, it was real.
I can't eat this.
That's more food than these people eat in a week. They're starving.
I'm sorry. You can have
Eat it.
I'm not hungry.
You're insulting them and you're embarrassing me. Eat it.
Eat it.
Number 8. For the infamous insect chamber scene, the crew sourced around 80,000 live bugs, including giant cockroaches and stick insects. Kate Capshaw, playing Willie Scott, was terrified. To calm her nerves, she reportedly took a Valium before filming. Even so, she had to endure days of shooting while insects crawled over her hair, clothes, and skin. The production team even glued some of the bugs in place to ensure they stayed on camera. Capshaw pushed through, delivering one of the film's most memorable comedic moments, a performance equal parts scream queen and reluctant adventurer.
Willie, hurry!
Ah, shut up, Willie!
Number 9. Kate Capshaw's glittering red sequined gown in Temple of Doom looked spectacular in the opening nightclub sequence, but it wasn't built for the kind of filming that followed. The delicate beading and fabric were so fragile that just moving too quickly risked tearing it apart. When the shoot shifted from the choreographed dance number to the chaotic jungle scenes, the costume became a nightmare. Things got worse when the crew began filming with the elephants. During one take, an especially curious elephant reached out with its trunk, wrapped it around part of Capshaw's gown, and ripped away a chunk before anyone could stop it. The incident left Capshaw laughing, but the wardrobe team scrambling to repair the damage. To make matters harder, they only had one version of the dress, no backups. Every bead had to be meticulously reattached to keep continuity. That shimmering gown survived the rest of production, but not without becoming one of the most high-maintenance costumes in the entire Indiana Jones series.
Indiana Jones! This is one night you'll never forget. Sleep tight!
and pleasant dreams.
I could have been your greatest adventure.
Number 10. One of the most outrageous stunts in Temple of Doom happens within the first 10 minutes. Indy, Willie, and Short Round leap from a crashing plane in an inflatable raft, sliding down a snowy mountain and splashing into a river. While the sequence was heavily planned, the stunt team actually filmed portions of it for real. A raft was dropped from a plane onto a slope in the Canadian Rockies, and stunt performers rode it down the mountain. The combination of practical stunt work and miniatures gave the scene its wild, cartoonish energy and made it one of the most talked about openings in the series.
Oh no, Mr. Oh, Mr. Wait.
You call him Dr. Jones, dog.
Number 11. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg both snuck personal touches into Temple of Doom through its character names. Short Round was named after a dog belonging to screenwriters Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz. Willie Scott came from Spielberg's own dog, Willie. And Indiana Jones, of course, had been named years earlier after George Lucas's Alaskan Malamute. It's a running joke across the series that Indy's adventures are partly inspired by man's best friend. And in Temple of Doom, that tradition stayed very much alive. Number 12. When Indy, Willie, and Short Round arrive at the impoverished Indian village early in the film, the dialogue is subtitled as the elder tells them about the stolen sacred stone and kidnapped children. What many viewers don't know is that the actors playing the villagers truly didn't speak English. The production cast real locals in Sri Lanka, and the elder delivered his lines in his native language. Spielberg directed the scene with a translator's help, ensuring the emotion and pacing were exactly what he wanted. That authenticity is part of why the sequence feels so genuine. The villagers weren't performing polished Hollywood English. They were speaking from the heart, in their own voice, about loss and desperation. Number 13. Amrish Puri, who played the terrifying Mola Ram, wasn't just a villain on one set. He was a star across an entire continent. By the time Temple of Doom was filming, Puri was already one of India's most prolific actors, with a schedule so packed it's almost unbelievable. During production, he was actively working on 19 films at the same time. This meant his days were a whirlwind. He'd shoot a scene as Mola Ram, then fly back to India to appear in a completely different role. Sometimes a romantic lead, sometimes a father figure, sometimes another villain. The drastic shifts in character didn't faze him. Spielberg later called Puri the best villain the series ever had, and his commanding presence in Temple of Doom proved it. Despite juggling nearly 20 productions, Puri brought an intensity and menace that made Mola Ram unforgettable and showed why he remains a legend in Indian cinema.
Let her go, Mola Ram! You are in a position unsuitable to give orders.
Number 14. The film's opening sequence takes place in a glamorous 1930s Shanghai nightclub. Above the entrance is a glowing sign reading Club Obi-Wan, a playful reference to Spielberg's friend and Star Wars creator George Lucas. It wasn't the first time the two directors had slipped nods to each other's work into their films, but this one was among the most obvious. For fans paying attention, it was a wink that tied two of the biggest adventure franchises of all time together in the very first minutes of the movie. Number 15. Some of Temple of Doom's most jaw-dropping action scenes weren't shot full scale at all. For sequences like the minecart chase, Spielberg relied heavily on detailed miniature models. Industrial Light and Magic built intricate track layouts, complete with tiny minecarts, tunnels, and background scenery. The models were filmed with motion control cameras that could move at precise speeds, allowing the miniature carts to look like they were racing at breakneck pace. The footage was then combined with shots of the actors on full-size sets, seamlessly blending the two. Even today, the effect holds up, a testament to the craftsmanship of ILM and Spielberg's ability to merge practical ingenuity with big screen spectacle.
Water! 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 Water!
Number 16. The iconic rope bridge showdown near the film's climax was a logistical nightmare because it wasn't built in one place. The main bridge, strung across a 200-foot gorge, was filmed on location in Sri Lanka. Close-up shots of the actors were done safely on a replica bridge at Elstree Studios in England, and the wide shots of the bridge snapping were filmed using a detailed miniature in California. The seamless editing made it appear as one continuous location, when in reality it was the combined work of 3 countries. A global effort for one of the most memorable moments in Indiana Jones history.
Chao Chi! Latsu Tsangta!
Hello, lady, we going for a ride.
Oh my God!
Number 17. Amid all the chaos and spectacle of Temple of Doom, there's one sequence Steven Spielberg has called his favorite to film in his entire career, the infamous Spike Room Trap. Conceived early in development, it was pure pulp adventure. Swarming bugs, stone walls closing in, and deadly spikes rising toward Indy and Short Round. The tension peaks as Willie forces her hand through a wall of insects and slams the release, saving them. Relief lasts seconds, because once she steps inside, her backside hits the trigger, and the trap resets. The scene builds to a perfect capper. Indy snatching his fedora from the floor in the split second before the stone slab slams shut. Spielberg loved it because it combined everything he wanted from an Indiana Jones moment: danger, comedy, character beats, and perfect timing. For all the grand rope bridges and minecart chases, it was this claustrophobic, bug-filled set piece that gave him the most joy behind the camera. Number 18. When Temple of Doom hit theaters in 1984, it rattled audiences, especially parents. The film was rated PG, yet it contained scenes far more intense than anything in Raiders: child slavery, ritual sacrifice, and Mola Ram tearing a still-beating heart from a victim's chest. Moviegoers flooded the MPAA with complaints, saying it was too extreme for kids, but not explicit enough for an R rating. The controversy caught the attention of Steven Spielberg, who agreed there was a gap in the system. He suggested creating a new middle ground, a rating that would warn parents about content too strong for PG without branding a film as R. The MPAA listened. Just months later, the PG-13 rating was born, first used for Red Dawn in August 1984. Temple of Doom, along with Spielberg's Gremlins, became the two films most credited with pushing that change. It didn't just alter the indie franchise, it permanently reshaped how Hollywood labels its movies.
Shorty, you keep an eye on her.
Why? Where are you going?
Down there.
Are you crazy?
I'm not leaving here without the stones.
You could get killed chasing after your damn fortune and glory.
But not today.
Number 19. When Temple of Doom premiered, it wasn't greeted with the universal praise that Raiders of the Lost Ark enjoyed. Many critics slammed it as too dark, too violent, and lacking the charm of the first film. Some took aim at its relentless pace and grim tone, calling it more exhausting than exhilarating. Others accused it of leaning on shock value over storytelling, pointing to its depictions of ritual sacrifice and child labor as evidence it had gone too far. Spielberg himself later admitted the movie was a little too dark for his taste, influenced by his own personal struggles at the time. Yet while critics wrote it off as the weakest of the series, audiences felt differently. The film raked in over $300 million worldwide, proving Indiana Jones still had the power to pack theaters. In the decades since, Temple of Doom has undergone a reevaluation, with many fans embracing its daring tone and outrageous set pieces. The critics might have tried to bury it, but Indy's second adventure refused to stay underground. Number 20. For all its controversy, Temple of Doom dazzled audiences with technical wizardry that was groundbreaking in 1984. The film's jaw-dropping set pieces, from the raging river raft escape to the runaway minecart chase, relied on a seamless blend of full-scale stunt work, intricate miniatures, and cutting-edge optical effects. ILM's visual effects team built miniature minecart tracks like a roller coaster, carefully shooting them with small-scale cars to match the actors' movements. Matte paintings extended the scope of cavernous temples, and clever compositing made impossible stunts feel real. That technical ambition didn't go unnoticed. At the 57th Academy Awards, Temple of Doom took home the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, beating out Ghostbusters, and 2010, The Year We Make Contact. It was a reminder that whatever critics thought of its tone, the craft behind Indy's second adventure was unmatched, and its thrills weren't just in the story, but in the sheer artistry of bringing it to life. Bonus fact: Indiana Jones' fedora is one of the most iconic costume pieces in movie history, and the Temple of Doom version made auction history. In 2021, the screen-used fedora worn by Harrison Ford in the film went up for sale at Prop Store's entertainment memorabilia auction in Los Angeles. Expected to sell for a high sum, it blew past estimates, fetching an incredible $300,000. Crafted by Herbert Johnson hatters in London, the hat had been custom-shaped and aged for Ford's head and the film's rugged jungle setting. Its weathered look wasn't just design, it was the result of actual wear during filming. For collectors, it wasn't just a hat. It was a piece of cinematic legend, a symbol of adventure that survived rope bridges, minecart chases, and the darkest indie story ever told.
Shock you?
Nothing shocks me. I'm a scientist.
So as a scientist, you do a lot of research?
Always.
And what sort of research would you do on me?
nocturnal activities,
You mean like what sort of cream I put on my face at night? What position I like to sleep in?
mating customs.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was dangerous, divisive, and utterly unforgettable. It broke away from Raiders' formula, pushed the limits of PG-rated cinema, and in doing so, helped create an entirely new movie rating. It gave us Short Round, one of the most beloved sidekicks in the genre, and Mola Ram, a villain still feared decades later. It faced location bans, on-set injuries, and swarms of real bugs, yet still delivered some of the most ambitious action sequences ever put on film. Whether you see it as the franchise's boldest chapter or its most controversial, there's no denying its place in movie history. If this one still makes you grip your armrest during the rope bridge scene, drop a comment. Tell us what legendary adventure we should uncover next, because sometimes the most dangerous journeys are the ones worth taking.